When I think back to like the very start of my spiritual journey, it's like I wanted so much from enlightenment, It's like there's something here to understand, and once I understand it fully, then life will be good. And in a sense, it's true, but not how you first initially think. Because, in the past, it's like I had all these problems, right? All these problems, all this suffering. And I was like, I've got to understand this enlightenment thing, this spiritual thing, this consciousness thing. And once I understand it fully and embody it fully, then all my suffering and problems will be gone. And, well, there is a distinction to be made with some of the problems you have in life. Because if you reach quote unquote enlightenment, whatever you're thinking that to be, it's not going to solve everything in your life, Like you're conditioned a certain way, you have certain predispositions that make certain things in life difficult for you to do. And to work on that, to end the kind of pain involved with that, it's a different axis of development that isn't going to be solved simply by pursuing enlightenment or consciousness or whatever. It could have some correlation for sure, but not. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to end some of the pain you're experiencing because of just the way that you're wired and have been conditioned. So that's number one. That's something to remember, because I remember in the past I used to think it's like if I just pursue this spiritual thing, then all these other areas of my life that are kind of problemsome and difficult for me to do, they will just sort themselves out as a byproduct. But it isn't the case in a lot of cases. Some things you do have to actually exert effort to kind of fix. It's like you could reach enlightenment and still have social anxiety, be homeless, have certain addictions or whatever. But enlightenment is just what is true. What's actually happening. And so it's really just acceptance of reality as it is. And so basically what happens is like, in a sense, it's like enlightenment dissolves your suffering and problems, not by actually having solutions, but by recontextualizing how you perceive life in a way where you start to see that nothing is a problem. You know, it's like when you first kind of go on this spiritual path, you have this fantasy of being in like bliss all the time, being in like this altered state of consciousness that is like very like peaceful and blissful and vivid, and you know your body feels good all the time. But you know, enlightenment is just like accepting that whatever's happening. And whatever's happening is okay. So it's not that you solve your problems, you just see that these things that you perceive as problems in your life is just life, is just reality happening, and there's no issue with it. This doesn't mean that you neglect the effort to change some things in your life, because of course, you know, you can always get better. You know, you could go to therapy and work on some issues. You could eat healthier. You can, you know, do shadow work or whatever. You can, whatever, you know. And I feel like a lot of people equate enlightenment with like, you know, like fully like resolving your shadow, or you know, fully releasing trauma or whatever like this. And it's like, you know, people go on this spiritual path usually because they just want to feel better. But if we're talking about enlightenment, it's just about pursuing what is real, what's true. So trauma or not, you know, shadow or not, this development of awakening is a different axis than kind of trying to resolve your personal trauma and shadow or whatever, you know, this realm of psychology. So it's like, well, why the fuck would I pursue enlightenment then if it's not going to do anything for me? Yeah, no, it's not going to do anything for you. That's the point. And truth has nothing to do with you. Truth doesn't doesn't contort itself to serve you. It's not about you. It's about what's true. Enlightenment is not about wanting to feel better. You can do so many other things to feel better about your life, you know. Personal growth, personal development, self-improvement. Go on that if you want to feel better, you know. Go to therapy if you want to feel better, you know. This enlightenment business is a different axis of development. And you know, I'm not saying I'm enlightened, I know what enlightenment is. But man, it's like this topic of enlightenment is just one that I'm very interested in. And of course, you know, I've read a lot about it, watched so many videos about it, meditated so much, trying to ask myself what is enlightenment and what's true and all this kind of stuff. So I'm not like some authority figure about enlightenment, but it's just something I'm very interested in. and not just interested intellectually but experientially. Yeah. So yeah, enlightenment will, solve some of your suffering, because a lot of the suffering that you have is due to not accepting aspects of reality, the painful aspects, you know. And when you don't accept an aspect of reality, there's an added pain that you're putting on to that. And that's really where like a lot of the suffering comes from. And really, if you want to get better in aspects of your life, you want to improve, you got like these aspects of yourself, your psyche, whatever, that are kind of dysfunctional and not healthy, and you want to improve in whatever areas. It's like, well, really, if you're going to change it all, first you do have to accept how things actually are. It's funny, I remember like in a phase of my life reading about enlightenment more and more, and these people that I was reading were saying a lot of what I'm saying, like, enlightenment is not this, it's not that, it won't do this for you, it won't do that for you. And I'm like reading, I'm like, well, what the fuck will it do then? What the fuck is the point in enlightenment then, if it's not gonna fucking solve my suffering, if it's not gonna help me with this and that? What the fuck is the point of it? What even is it? It seems like it's nothing. It's like, enlightenment is not this, it's not that. There's like a fucking massive list of what enlightenment isn't. And it's like, well, what the fuck is it? And it's like, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's like, well, what the fuck am I doing then? What am I trying to pursue? So you kind of get disillusioned with it. There's this like attitude to life that a lot of us have, where it's like we want this end point where it's like full fulfillment, absolute fulfillment. It's like, I've got to do this, maybe I've got to do multiple things, and then I'll be fulfilled, and then I'll be satisfied. And really, there is no such thing. And see, that's a hard pill to swallow. But once you swallow it, it's like realizing that nothing's going to satisfy you completely is the thing that satisfies you completely. Is the thing that makes you really just settle down and like stop like hinging your sense of completeness on something in the future. So you can be utterly complete now and still realize that you can always improve, So like, this moment is perfect now. Warts and all, everything that I got going on, every insecurity that I still have within me, every kind of area of life that I'm kind of lacking in. It's like all of that. This moment is utterly complete with all of that. And yet I'm still going to improve and get better and deepen and refine each day of my life as well. See, this is not a paradox. It's not contradictory. Only the mind thinks it is. Everything is perfect as it is. utterly complete, and yet you still try to improve things. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a like and subscribe, that helps me out a lot. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.